talk about what happened on March 4th?
Well, early in the morning of March 4th, my receptionist came to work and went in the back door and saw that the glass had been broken through and didn't go in, went upstairs to the landlord, who happens to be a lawyer, and said, "We've been broken into, please call 911. Then she called me. And by the time I got there, the place was swarming with policemen and FBI, and they would not let us go in. And in fact, I couldn't go in till the next day in the afternoon, and they worked all night long. And I didn't know, you don't know what to expect. You have no idea about this. And they just kept telling me that you have to be prepared. There's a lot of damage. And at one point, the head police officers asked me if I wanted to see some videos before I walked in, and I declined. I just was anxious. I wanted to go in and see for myself. So that day, we just hung out in shock and waited.
And when you got the news of the arrest of a suspect in the incident, could you talk about that and also who the suspect is?
Well, it just fit a lot of little pieces, of course, together, because I found out Zachary Klundt, the son of Twyla Klundt, who was one of the founders of Hope Pregnancy Ministries and who I have met about 5 years ago. I invited her for lunch, kind of to mend fences, talking about our different views. I went and visited Hope Pregnancy Ministries. I invited her to visit my clinic, which she declined. And so when I heard it was him, it didn't surprise me. And then I also found out what I suspected, which was that Hope Ministries had bought my previous office. So I just put the pieces together. Didn't take too much work to do that.
Susan Cahill, you describe what the vandal did. Tell us about the shape of your offices. What did he destroy? What kind of weapons did he have?
I can only surmise what kind of weapons he had. And it's very hard for me to talk about my office because I get very emotional about it, because it was awful. And only 3 weeks previously, because I had moved, I had painted it, I had new cabinets, I had window coverings, I had friends come, we put up artwork. It was really, really lovely, and I was very happy with how it looked. And so to see that whole thing destroyed, and I really can't tell you how much he meticulously worked at breaking absolutely everything that you can imagine. I mean, I even had an award because I got an award as risk taker from Lifetime TV back in 2003. And it was this big, heavy glass award, and he smashed it to smithereens. And I suspect that it was a hammer. I don't know. He put I think the end of a hammer, claw marks into all the pictures, my personal family pictures. He broke the glass on absolutely everything that has had glass, whether it be cabinets or my artwork. He completely destroyed my ultrasound machine, of course, and then there were just papers. The couches had big holes in them. The exam tables had holes in them. The blood pressure cuff was completely broken, bent, destroyed. Tools were completely bent. I mean, he took a lot of care to do all this damage.
Family photos?
Family photos were destroyed. I mean, I've kept them, but they have holes in them. The glass was broken out. I had a picture of me and my son framed because my son had written a very lovely letter to the editor in 2003 when I came back from doing some work in upstate New York. And I had framed it, and he put holes in both of our faces and destroyed the newspaper article that was framed.
Well, Susan, we invited Michelle Reimer, the executive director of Hope Pregnancy Ministries, to join us on the program today, but she declined. She did issue a written statement, though. She confirmed the mother of the suspect in the attack on your clinic served on the board of directors of Hope Pregnancy Ministries. Reimer said Twyla Klundt has since resigned, quote, in order to keep Hope Pregnancy Ministries from being unjustly accused or associated in any way with Zach's actions. She also wrote Hope Pregnancy Ministries was shocked and saddened by the attack on your clinic, calling it abhorrent and totally unacceptable manner by which to express opposition to abortion. Your reaction?
Well, of course she's going to say that. I mean, what is she? She's not going to say we're happy about it. I mean, that wouldn't be appropriate. But I think that she needs. They need to take. They need to be accountable for what happened. I wrote a letter to the physician who I've known very well for 38 years, who is the physician for Hope Ministries, Pregnancy Ministries. And I said to him, you know, I'm a victim here, but so is Zachary Klundt, because babies are born in innocence and love, and they are taught to hate. And I think that that is where they have to be accountable.
How was he caught, Zachary Klundt, not in your offices? And how long do you expect he spent destroying your medical clinic?
You know, it's a very good question. And a lot of people who saw the destruction keep saying, how could one person do so much damage? So a lot of people think there's got to be more than one. I don't know. It's hard to grasp those things because when you can't imagine doing it yourself, I mean, you just can't imagine anybody doing something like that. So I think he must have had to spend a lot of time there. And I don't know what this other bond, you know, the bail bond place that he got into, what that was about. You know, my first thought is either he was set up to do that so that it looked like a random act. The other thought was that he was drunk with power over what he had just done and continued on. I don't know.
I wanted to ask you now, it's been decades now that you have been conducting your work amidst enormous hostilities to the point where the legislature attempted to write a law specifically aimed at you. Could you talk about the toll it's taken on you and why you persist so much in maintaining the right to abortion for women?
Because it's the right thing to do. That's why I have continued on. I mean, I grew up when abortion was illegal and became legal when I was a young woman. And as a young woman, it made total sense to me that women have to have this medical availability safely. And when I went to PA school from 74 to 76, I was taught to do abortions during my schooling, which doesn't happen anymore. But and then when I came out to Montana, the physician who was working at the time, Dr. Armstrong, who was also from New York originally, had vowed, because he saw women die every day when he was in medical school of illegal abortion, and he vowed that if it ever became legal, he would do it as part of his family practice. And by the time that I got on the scene, he was so inundated with requests for abortion services that he needed help. And he saw that I had been trained, so we hooked up. It has never been a doubt in my mind how important this is. And when I wrote the letter to the newspaper, I said, rightly so, abortion is a very simple, safe medical procedure. It saves women lives because we know that women will always seek abortion services, and there is absolutely no reason why women should die from it. And it's so clear to me because life is hard, and families and women need choices in their lives, and reproduction is like key to being able to make choices in your life.
So, Susan Cahill, you are a physician's assistant, and the law that the Montana legislature passed was directly targeting you, saying a physician's assistant cannot perform abortion, but then was overturned by the Montana Supreme Court a couple of years later?
Correct. What happens is that when abortion became legal, the Roe v. Wade said only medical only doctors, trained physicians could do abortions, which was in response to the illegal people that were doing abortions before Roe. So, and there weren't a lot of allied health professionals at that time. We were just starting out, allied professionals meaning physician assistants and nurse practitioners particularly. And so there weren't those, so you weren't going to add them. So then when they were trying to stop me from doing them, they went to that law. And it took 2 years for the Montana Supreme Court to say, you know, that's not what the law was intended to mean. It meant that people who were trained and skilled should be able to do this procedure. So that's why it was overturned.
Susan, I wanted to play a clip of one of your former colleagues, Dr. Susan Klundt, who recently closed her clinic in Livingston, Montana. She's the author of This Common Secret, My Journey as an Abortion Doctor. In 2009, during a talk at Revolution Books here in New York City, Susan Klundt described how a shortage of rural abortion providers compelled her to travel to 5 clinics across 3 states, Wisconsin, North Dakota, and Minnesota, to provide abortions. And then anti-choice groups figured out what she was doing. She describes how they came to her house in northern Minnesota and formed a blockade out of cement barrels.
The day that they had put cement barrels in the yard and to try to keep me from going to the clinic, which is the same day that I snuck out of the house carrying a loaded .45, which is the same day I drove, all night long to get to the clinic in Fargo, and then that morning showed up at the clinic, and the protesters, of course, thought I was barricaded in my house because their buddies 260 miles away, of course, were holding me captive, and they were quite shocked when, for the first time ever, I stepped out of that clinic with my scrubs on and my lab coat, and I put my fist in the air, and I said, yes, there will be clinic today. You are not going to stop this clinic. And it was...
That was Dr. Susan Klundt. She went on to describe how the anti-choice extremists went to her daughter's school and put up posters bearing Susan's face with the words, "Wanted for the murder of children." Susan Cahill, your response?
I know Susan Klundt very well. My response is, it's painful, but not surprising. And this is why it's getting harder and harder for us as abortion providers to offer that service, because it's nonstop. And I don't know what to say about that other than I just wish that everybody would say this can't go on. This is a safe, legal medical procedure, and it's the only medical procedure that is allowed to be demonized continually, and the people who do them to be demonized continually. And it wears you down.
Susan Cahill, is the FBI looking at this as terrorism?
I don't think that they are looking at it as terrorism, but they're quiet about what they're doing. So I have to respect that. I felt that they've been very supportive, so I just have to respect that. I don't know.
I wanted to ask you about the Hope Pregnancy Ministries. The Montana Human Rights Network has accused Hope Pregnancy Ministries of receiving support from white supremacists. It cites a post by a local resident, April Gaeti, on the neo-Nazi site Stormfront in 2009. Gaeti wrote, quote, "If you want to do something to help save white babies, please donate to this group. I have personally met many of these people, and they are some of the most devoted to saving the unborn that I have ever met. Since our local population is over 95% white, you're pretty much guaranteed to be helping to save white babies." Michelle Reimer, the executive director of Hope Pregnancy Ministries, denied the link in a statement to Democracy Now! She wrote, "We have no record of Ms. Gaeti ever making a donation to Hope Pregnancy Ministries."
Did you want me to comment
yes,
on
Susan,
that?
if you, about this, or at least this supposed link between Hope Pregnancy Ministries and a white supremacist site?
Well, again, it doesn't surprise me, and from what I know about that, and it's only secondhand, is that once it came out and the Human Rights Network pushed it, Hope Ministries backed off and said, no, we don't want a connection with them. Just like they're now saying, we abhor this violence to my clinic. I mean, they're going to say that because it doesn't make them look very good. They want to look like they're just these nice little people that are trying to save babies. And I think that they're very dangerous people.
Zachary Klundt, what kind of weapons did he have when he went into your office, into your clinic?
I don't know that either, but all I know is that what was reported, which was that he had on his person, I don't even know about arms, except that he had an semi-automatic rifle in his car, and he had a semi-automatic, I think, pistol on his person with an extra round. And I would venture to guess that they were with him at the time, but I'm not sure of that.
Are you concerned about your own personal safety?
I absolutely believe that this is what I think happened. The Reimers bought my office, hoping that would stop me from having a business, because it's not easy for me to find a place to rent. It took me a long time to find the place on Meridian Road, but I did find one, and so I think that pissed off, pardon me, the Hope Pregnancy Ministries, and so they decided to destroy my office. And my feeling is that if that had not been successful, because of the incredible violence and hatred that was palpable in my office, I think that they would have destroyed me. That's how I feel. So yes, I am nervous about that.
And what is your plans now for the future? What's been the reaction in your community to the attack, and are you planning to seek to try to reopen again?
This has been probably the most dramatic situation of my life so far, which saying a lot considering I've gone through a fair amount, but this has been big. And it feels bigger because it was an attack on me personally from somebody else in the community. And our firebombing in 1994 was from a man I think he was from Texas, and he had done it to 3 clinics. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I haven't made any decisions, and I'm taking the summer off. My phone lines are open. My faxes are open. I talk to patients. Mostly my patients are regular patients, and try and help them with whatever they need, including referrals. And I'm not making any commitment to anything until I really think deeply about this.
Susan Cahill, I wanted to end by asking you to tell the story behind the painting that was destroyed in your office. It's the Norman Rockwell painting, Golden Rule, which bears that text, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." The glass broken, the painting slashed. What's the history of this painting, where you first got it and where else it's hung over the years?
Yeah, it's a good story. Dr. Armstrong and I were at a meeting, National Abortion Federation meeting in Philadelphia, and we went to the Norman Rockwell Museum. And it's an interesting museum, and it goes around in a circle. And we kind of both went in opposite directions to come back to the sales desk. And when we got there, Dr. Armstrong was there already, and I came up and I said to him, "I think that we ought to get the golden rule for our office." And he looked at me and he just pointed to the salesperson because she was wrapping it at the time. Mm-hmm. So we bought that together, and it was being framed when we had our firebomb in our office. So when we rebuilt, which took 5 months, that was the first thing that went up in our office in the waiting room. And it stayed there forever. And then when Dr. Armstrong retired and I opened up All Families Healthcare, he gave it to me to put in my office.
And that was the painting that was destroyed on March 4th.
Correct.